So once you have downloaded and printed out your folio, you will have 5 pages with the main panels that will make the folio itself. Panels A, B, C, D and E, plus the semicircle pocket. You'll have a page with the other pockets on it, a page with the fold out bouquet feature, a page with some flaps and some ephemera, and the same with this one. These 2 pages, the instructions ask you to double side print this with backing paper number 2, which is the one with the script on. And then the last 2 pages are these 2, and these you double side print with backing paper number 1, which is just the plain one. These are mostly journaling cards and postcards and such like, and by leaving it plain on the back with just this plain sheet, you will be able to use that to write various bits of journaling and stuff on. And then the next thing to do is to cut all these pieces out, ready to put it all together, and I'll do that off camera and be back in just a moment. So now we have all the pieces cut out, it's time to assemble the main part of our folder, and for that you're going to need panels A, B, C, D and E. I'm going to put all the other pockets and ephemera to one side, and we'll come back to that once we've got the main part of the folder completed. And the first part we're going to use is panel A, which is this one. Now you will see that it's printed with a lightly inked edge all the way around the border, but I have also gone and put a little bit of distress ink on the back of all the panels. This is mainly because sometimes when you cut them out, they don't match absolutely perfectly, and you might get little bits of white showing through. Now you can either trim those, or my preference, because it's usually only just a tiny bit, is to just give it a little bit of ink and just leave well alone. So the first thing we can do with this panel, which is panel A, this is going to make the cover of your folio. And the first thing I'm going to do is just simply fold that in half. And I'm going to use my bone folder just to give that a nice firm crease along the centre. And I'm also going to turn it the other way, make that fold nice and flexible, like that. Okay, and so that's the first part of the folio. That's going to be the back and front cover. So the next piece we want to use is panel A, which is this one with the pink pattern one side and the plain pattern the other. And we do exactly the same with this as we did with the panel A, which is to just simply fold it in half. Now you could, depending on what paper you're using, you could score this first if you're using a heavier paper. I have printed all parts of this folio onto 160 GSM white card, which is quite rigid, bearing in mind you're going to stick some of these together. You don't need really heavy duty card. The 160 seems to be perfect for this job. So fold it one way and then fold it again the other. And we are going to very simply stick the panel panel B inside panel A. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue all the way around the edges of panel A. Now I'll put a little bit in the centre as well. I am using a wet glue for this because it just gives you a few more seconds to slide your panels into position. Just simply pop, make sure your folds are lined up, and it's lined up top and bottom. And just press that in. Make sure that centre fold is all lined up, and press those two together. You might want to give the spine another firm crease. Now you've got a second layer inside. little bits of glue seeping out there, so I probably put a little bit too much on there. So that is your cover with your first panel set inside and all ready to go for the next part. So the next bit we are going to make for the folio is panel C, which is this one, with the journaling space and the little spread flowers at the bottom. And then this side is going to make your first pocket. So for this one, we are just going to fold along this line here. Again, you can use a school board to do that if you like. I find it's just easy to just give it a fold along that line. It doesn't really need, certainly with the 160 gram card, it doesn't really need to be scored. And go across with your bone folder once more in both directions. Fold it in both directions like we did with the other panels, like so. And then we're just going to pop some glue along the top and the bottom and just to the pocket side of this fold, so just along this part here, okay? And I'm also, before I do that, I'm just going to pop a little bit of distress ink on that fold so that when the pages bend, if we've not glued it absolutely perfectly, then we won't have any glaring white pieces showing through. So just give that a little bit of, just a little bit of distress ink down that fold. This is the distress ink that I use. This is the Vintage Photo, the Tim Holtz distress ink, and I put it on with one of these little sponge topped handles, just so you know. Right, so we're going to pop glue along this top bit, down the fold on the pocket side, and also along the bottom like that. So the pocket page is going to go onto the pink part of panel B, and we are just going to, I'm going to fold that over and just line it up with this edge. Line the fold up right on the very edge, like so. Make sure it's nice and neatly done top and bottom. And then I'm just going to press that down with the bone folder just to get that nice and firmly attached. There's a bit more glue there, and I'm not being very tidy with this, am I? Need to watch the amount of glue I'm putting on there. Right, so that's your panel C, which makes your pocket on panel A and gives you your first fold out page, okay? Now you will notice that this panel here is just, probably about 1/8 of an inch, maybe not even quite that, shorter than the panel here, and that's so that when you fold it over it doesn't get caught up in this fold and doesn't bulge. So you nice neat fold there. So that is supposed to be just that little bit shorter than the panel underneath. Okay, so now we're going to move on with the next panel, and that is panel D. Panel D is this one with the script on this side and then the little flower spray up in that top right hand corner. Again, very simple. You're just going to fold it in half exactly like we did with panels A and B. So just fold that in half and give that a nice firm crease. Just like before, I'm going to fold it the other way as well. Fold with your, so that's panel D, panel D ready to pop into the folio. But before we glue this to the main part of the folio, we're going to add some flaps to panel C and also to the top and bottom of panel D. So the flaps we're going to use are these ones, a flap A, B and C. So A is going to go at the top of that panel, B is going to go at the bottom of that panel, and then this one is going to go onto here. Now you could again, you can use a scoreboard if you prefer, but I am just going to fold all the tabs along this dark line here, ready to glue on. Just fold them over like so. And the last one, I'm just going to fold over where I can see the darker inked edge. Now again, because these are going to open out of the panel, like so, I'm just going to run a little bit of distress ink along here, just a little bit. Just going to put some glue along that edge. Just a bit of glue stick is fine for this. And then we're going to line that up so it's just, this edge is just a tiny bit lower than the edge of this panel, and line the fold up, fold it over, make sure it's nicely tucked into that edge, and give that a good press down. Make sure that's well and truly stuck on there. And that is our first flap, our first little fold out piece, which I think I might just round the corners of this. Again, it's completely optional. I just like the way round corners look. So that's that one. And I'm going to pop that to one side and do the top and bottom flaps on this side of panel D. Now the smaller of the two, you see the smaller of the two is going to go at the top, and the larger one is going to go at the bottom. So again, turn it over and put some glue on the inside of the tab along here and along here. Let's go ahead and do that. So then, whoops, oh goodness, got glue on there now. You're going to pop that in there. Now these flaps are almost as wide as the panel, and you'll only have just a millimetre or two either side. So it's just worth taking your time to centre those and make sure that it's not going to interfere with this fold. Whoops, hang on. There we go. That's nice and tight up against the edge now. And then I'm going to do the same for the larger panel. So put glue on the inside of the tab like this. And then we're going to pop that at the bottom. No, in fact, I'm going to do it this way around, I think. Just line those two flaps up so that when they're closed, they are going to look almost as though they're one piece of paper and kind of hide the panel that's underneath. Again, push that right up onto the edge of that paper. Give that a good press down, both sides. Make sure they're well and truly stuck down. And I think again, so there we go, there's your two flaps. Again, I am going to round the top corners of, whoops, it's not, that's bent up, there we go, that's better, it's gone in this time. And then I'm going to do around the corners of these top flap, like so. So that is your panel D. Yep, that all folds up nicely. And then the last thing we've got to do before we put these two together, we're going to go like that, back to back. The last thing we have to do is put our bouquet fold out on the side of this panel. And these are your two bouquet pieces. again, you just fold along this line here to make your tab. Again, score it if you want to be maybe just a little bit more accurate than I'm being, but to be honest, folding it is fine. I'm just going to do that with both pieces. Again, fold them both ways because this is going to be a flap that folds out of your folio, so you want it to be able to fold in both directions easily. Yep, just line that up like that. And when you fussy cut these out to the shape of the bouquet, you'll find it's almost impossible to get them absolutely perfect. So can you see there? Although I've lined that up, you have got little bits of tiny bits of white showing there. So again, you can stick these together and then go round and trim that white away if you like. I'm going to take the easier option of just putting a little bit of distress ink all the way around the edges on, and I'm going to do this on both pieces so that it will disguise any little bit of white that might be showing. And again, I'm going to just do the front of this fold so that when it shows on the edge of the paper, it's not glaringly, you don't get the cream showing through basically. I just like the inked edge better. So do this on the second piece as well as the first. All the way around like that. And then we are going to glue these two pieces together. That's all my glue all the way over that piece. And then just line the other one up on top of it. As I said, it is nigh on impossible to fussy cut both of these out by hand and get them absolutely spot on. And you can either, I see I've got a little bit there, you see I've got a little bit of white showing through. So actually for that one, I will just trim that. And then you could go around this with a bit of ink as well if you prefer it that way. But I'm pretty happy with that. That's absolutely fine. I'm just going to go ahead and redo these folds nice and crisply. Now it's been stuck together. Oh, I don't think you can hear that. That's my dog barking. I do apologise if that's if you can hear that over me talking. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is pop this piece onto the edge of this page over the top of this flap, and what we want to try and do is position it so that it covers the rest of this journaling panel here. I'm just going to work out where that's going to be. Yeah, so that's where we want to pop it along there. So now I'm just going to pop some glue onto this side of the tab here. And then glue it right to the edge like we did with the flap. Tuck that nice and tightly. Just, oh no, put it a bit low now. Do you see? Because this is showing through. I mean, you can have it like that if you prefer it, but I think it's quite nice to have this panel completely hidden, so it's a bit of a surprise underneath both of the flaps when they fold out. So I'll just press that down really tightly, and again turn it over and give that a really hard push down and make sure it's well and truly stuck. There we go. So that's that one. So now you have got panel A, which is your cover, panel B, panel C. You've got your fold out bouquet and also the fold out flap there. And we'll come back to this shortly, and we're going to be popping pockets and things in there. And that's just pulled out just a fraction, probably because the glue is not quite dried, and I've tried to move it already. There we go. I'll just put that back in neatly. Okay, and then we've also got, obviously you've prepared your panel D with your flaps A and B. And now we need to stick these 2 pages back to back. And that's going to go like that, okay, along that fold. Okay. And just before I put them together, I'm just going to put a bit of distress ink along this fold on the back of panel D. Again, just so that as we complete the folio and stick it all together, we don't have any bright white cards showing through along the folds and the creases where we've glued them. Okay, so that's now inked along this line. And I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of this panel and then stick it onto here. Just go all the way around the edge and along that fold. Don't put any glue on here just yet, just on this side. And a little bit in the center, just stick it together. And then we're going to stick, make sure it's the right way up. Make sure the script is the right way up. And then you're going to stick it onto the back of panel C. So I'm just going to line those 2 up like that first. And then fold them up together. Just slide them into place. Again, that's the advantage with using a wet glue rather than a dry glue, like a, well, even something like this tends to stick almost immediately, whereas the wet glue, and this is just a PVA type glue that I'm using, just gives you those extra few seconds to get things lined up and into place. Now, so the folds are nicely aligned and the top and bottom of the panel. Now you will get a little bit of the flap showing through because obviously that's a fraction longer than your panel. Okay, so now you've got those panels all attached together. You can see your folio is very nearly complete with your fold outs, and all we've got left to do now is to put this last panel on the back, and that's going to be panel E, which is just the plain green one. Now to go on panel E, we've also got a pocket, which is this one, and again we just fold along this line, or score it if you prefer before you fold it, and this tab, and then this tab is going to go around panel D and just fold over onto the back there. So the first thing we do is fold it over. Like I say, go ahead and score this if you prefer to. I find folding it is probably just as good, really, if you can be accurate enough. The ink lines on the panels do help because it shows you where you need to fold it. Again, just pop that fold in nice and firmly with a bone folder. You don't need to fold this the other way because it's going to make a pocket. So we're going to make a pocket like that. Whoops. Like that on panel D. So we're going to put glue along the top, along the bottom, and along this edge, and then leave this side open. So we've got a nice pocket in there. So we'll pop some glue on the reverse side. We're just going to put a little bit at the top, some along the flap there, and then some along this top edge as well. So just the 3 sides, and leave this one completely free of glue so that it makes your pocket. And we get panel D, and again line that up along the fold. Make sure top and bottom is nice and aligned neatly. give it a good press down with the bone folder, just to make sure the glue is nicely adhered to the back of the panel. Okay, so that's like it, like that. So that makes your pocket on the very back panel of the fold out. So now all we've got left to do now is to pop these two on the back of this panel here, and that's going to complete our folio. So I'm going to pop glue all the way around this edge. In fact, now I'll put the wet glue on for this one. So now it's got the glue all the way around. Again, just double check that everything is going to be the right way up before we stick this onto the back of your folio. Just make sure that's all lined up. And again, just push all that down. And that is your folio completely finished. Okay, so that's the main part. And that one, and then you've got these like so. And the fold out flaps that we did before. Right, so now we go straight on to making the pockets and ephemera to put inside it.